Welcome to Spectrum Sundays. I am Megan Sinisi, a Master of Health Science candidate studying to practice as a pediatric speech-language pathologist. I am also Miss Central Pennsylvania and the founder of a nonprofit organization for autism titled From a New Perspective.
And I am Francesca D'Alessandro, a current master's student at University of Buffalo studying speech-language pathology. Additionally, I am your Miss Thousand Islands of New York State, serving my community through AAA appreciation and awareness for autism.
Everyone deserves to feel accepted and included in every space they walk in. Our series aims to inspire you to advocate for yourself and on behalf of your loved ones, and we are so grateful that you're here with us today. This week, we are excited to welcome back Monica Fenwick to Spectrum Sundays. Monica is a junior at Assumption University in Massachusetts. She is pursuing a degree in Human Services and Rehabilitation Studies with a concentration in Communication Sciences Disorders and a minor in Education. She will continue into a master's program for speech-language pathology, and Monica hopes to work specifically with early intervention in children on the autism spectrum. She serves as an advocate and supporter of the autism community through her social impact initiative titled Autism Speaks, It's Time to Listen. This impact is one that she has been working on for years and hopes to continue growing for years to come. Monica hopes to be a piece to the puzzle in creating a more accepting and inclusive world. Thank you for being with us again today, Monica.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, we're excited to have you back. For anyone that may have missed your first episode with us, which shameless plug, if anyone did miss it, please make sure to go back and watch her first episode, episode 44 of our show. But could you share a little bit about your background and your inspiration behind advocating for autism acceptance?
Yeah, so the reason I became interested in supporting the autism community was through the Miss America organization when I needed to create a platform for my social impact. And through this, I've talked to a lot of different people trying to find inspiration and what sparked an interest in me. And I met an autism family who inspired me to not only create my platform for autism, but also to get into the field of speech pathology, where I hope to also help those on the autism spectrum. So I was given this new view of what a life is when living with autism, and it just gave me a new perspective on everything that inspired me to create a platform to advocate for it.
Yeah, there's something so special when you get to meet and really connect with the autism community, especially on that family level. It can be so special, and I don't think there's anything that can quite compare to it, because I used to work at a school for kids with autism, and just meeting their families just made serving the community so much better because I had that personal connection. So that's awesome. But kind of veering off of the topic of autism, what are some of the hobbies or things that you enjoy doing in your free time?
Yes, so aside from competing in pageants and advocating for autism, one of the many things that I'm involved with doing is I'm a member of my cheerleading team at Assumption University, where I've also been cheerleading for the last 13 years. So that hobby specifically has taken up a lot of my time and money, and I wouldn't do anything else if I had to go back. It taught me a lot about perseverance, and that's definitely something that I feel like is important now when competing in pageants and advocating, is you have to keep up with it and keep persevering and not give up. So I definitely think that's helped me. And some random things I like to do, but I wouldn't call myself professional at, I like to paint casually. I just like to do it as a hobby. And I also am working at a daycare, so I just like to hang out with some kids, teach them, educate the future minds. So those are some things I do in my free time.
That's so fun. And cheerleading, oh my gosh, I'm so impressed by any cheerleaders. I'm a baton twirler, but the acrobatics behind it all just still blows my mind. So that's amazing that you've been involved with that for so long. What do you enjoy most about being a Miss America title holder specifically?
Yeah, I would definitely have to say the experiences it gives me and the network it also gives me. I've met so many people through the Miss America organization, an example is you two. And it just like gives you this opportunity to meet all these different people from all different backgrounds and just to be able to learn from different experiences. And I feel like that's really valuable in life. But also just the friendships you make from these people that you meet. I know like the girls I compete with, we are all so close. We get really close pageant week and leading up to there. And it's just always having someone to reach out to is like really awesome to have in your back pocket. Oh, I need help with speech. I could reach out to you guys, or I need help with something else. I could reach out to someone else, that type of topic. And it's just like great to have this community of people to like support you through everything.
Yeah, you said that perfectly. I think that has also been something I've come to appreciate since joining the organization. And it's just such a beautiful part of the organization, whether you become Miss America or not, it always is a part of your life for the rest of your life because of that community that you create.
Yes.
So earlier you mentioned that you were a cheerleader. Does that translate into a talent for you at Miss Connecticut? Or like,
unfortunately, it does not, because I am too scared to tumble on hardwood floor. So I'm gonna be honest. But I am competing a flute solo. The last few years, I have done Despacito, I have done Thriller. So we'll see what I do this year. I'm not gonna say yet, but it's definitely something that was just like, I was in my band growing up, and then I was like, I need a talent now. I was like, I guess we'll whip out the flute. So it's something that I wasn't a master at, but with practice, I've gotten better. And it's just something that excites me now because I always play a song that's different and definitely surprises people. So I like to have that in my back pocket when I go to compete.
Ariane, do you play the flute as well?
No, I play trombone, so totally opposite side of the band world. We're like, I don't want to say the outcasts, but like trombone people are considered like the weirdos of the band. So, but I was gonna say maybe you can do a duet with Lizzo on stage. And
yes.
You know.
If only I was allowed to bring someone up with me.
Oh my gosh, that would be incredible. So you mentioned a lot about the sisterhood of Miss America, and for almost every single person that we have spoken with, that is a cornerstone in what their Miss America experience is. That's something that they really enjoy. And do you have one specific memory that sticks out in your mind that you've enjoyed through Miss America, either through the sisterhood or just in your advocacy? What is that? What does that look like for you?
So this is technically two different circumstances, but like the same idea. But just being able to go to Miss America and cheer on whoever is representing our state, I feel like that's something that definitely has been ingrained in my memory because I watched Bridget Oy compete and get first runner-up, and then I've watched Jillian Duffy compete and get fourth runner-up. So it's been a crazy experience to be there with all the girls in your class and just be cheering on that one person who's representing you and to see them succeed at what they're doing. It's just like inspiring. Not only that, because you can see like a girl from our small state is up there in the top 5. Like it's amazing to see, but also you're sitting there with all the girls that you competed with supporting that one person. So it just goes back to show you that yes, we compete against each other. Yes, we're competitors at the moment, but when it comes to it, we're always there supporting each other. And it's just like one of those memories that, I don't know, they'll just be ingrained in my memory forever. Just being able to look back and remember like all of us sitting there and like screaming our heads off. And my first year when Bridget won and we were watching it, I wasn't actually at Miss America. I was at my college dorm room and I was screaming and waking everyone up. But like we were all texting each other. Really exciting to do together.
Yeah, there's something so cool when you see your state being represented on the big stage, and getting that placement is so cool to see.
Yeah, definitely a crazy experience.
Well, maybe this year we'll see you up there on stage making top 5.
We'll see. I hope so.
So going back to your social impact initiative, you talked about some of your short-term goals in your previous episode, but 5-10 years from now, do you see your social impact initiative growing in any way, not just in the Miss America world, but maybe beyond that?
Yeah, I see it growing into a lot more. I feel like with my education being completed by then and being able to like actually be in the field, I feel like my platform is just going to turn into more of my way of life, essentially, because I'm going to be acting on everything that I've been talking about even more when I'm actually able to practice my field of speech. So I feel like that's definitely one thing. And I also hope to establish my own speech pathology clinic when I'm older. So I feel like my platform is going to turn into its own business essentially if I could. And I feel like that would be just really great to see happen when I'm older.
That's incredible. I have a very similar goal in mind for opening a clinic. And if nothing else, Miss America gives us those experiences to feel empowered to do that, and also to believe that we have the space and the capability to do something that's successful. So it's so great to hear that someone in a different state has also had that on their mind and is working toward making their social impact initiative part of their longstanding legacy through their career. So what qualities or characteristics do you think make an impactful advocate or an effective advocate and a title holder in Miss America?
I think one word to describe it would be someone who is powerful, because I feel like you need to be able to go out there and to be able to speak about and advocate and be a sense of power for all those people that you are advocating for. And I also feel like someone who is resilient, because you may get knocked down a few times, but it's always about the journey back upward, sorry. Just that how you come back from those circumstances and the adversity you may face, like how you come back stronger, it will definitely define you more. So I feel like it's really important that you're a resilient person when you're competing and you're advocating, because you always want to make sure that you come back on an uphill battle. You want to make sure you're keeping that progression. You just want to keep getting better for yourself and for those you're advocating for, and you don't want to let anything knock you down or keep you from reaching those goals.
Yeah, I'm a huge avid believer in growth mindset. So for anyone who's not feeling confident enough to advocate, just working on those skills of persistency and resiliency over time will make such a huge difference as an advocate for whatever they believe in. But for someone who might be just beginning that journey of being an advocate, what tips could you share for those who want to do this journey of becoming a social influencer and trying to change their communities?
I think it's just important that you don't get discouraged, because there will be people who think that what you're doing is not right, or they may disagree with your views. But it's just important that you stay persistent on those goals, like I said before, because I feel like it's important that you know that your reason and your why for being there may be different than someone else's, but you're just as important. And it's important that we realize that no matter what background you came from, you are just as worthy of being there and being a supporter of that.
Right. I love that you highlighted the fact of uphill battles. And when you get knocked down, you have to get back up again, because that's life for everybody. And that's also, as an advocate, you are going to run into many different things where you're advocating on behalf of something and you just can't get people on board, or it seems like a fight and a battle to get them invested in your message. So that's wonderful to hear that you have that enthusiastic mindset, because we need more of those kinds of advocates for this community. Monica, I'm curious about you being a Miss America title holder, and thinking back to when you first started 3 years ago or so. What advice would you give to yourself back then as a first-time competitor, and or what advice would you give to someone that's looking to pursue Miss America?
I just think it's definitely important that you don't let other people's views affect how you view yourself. Because in the beginning, I didn't have the best talent or the best interview, and people would talk about that. And it's just something that like you need to realize that like their views don't matter, and you can learn and you can grow and you can get up there in the system. It doesn't matter if it's your first year or your last year. Each person's on an equal playing field, and if you get the right support system behind you, then you will accomplish everything. it's just important that you let those negative views stay out of it and not affect your mood, because there's been times where if someone was laughing in the audience, I took it personally and I wanted to just quit right then. But it's important that we don't give up and you stay persistent, like I said before, and just keep going, because I would have never thought that I would be at the point I am now, being able to go into job interviews, being able to talk to the podcast like I am now, where I was in the beginning. And it just shows that like the whole process is a lot of growth, and where you are now does not mean or dictate what you will be in the future.
Yeah, that was so well said. And it's so crazy to think that even though you've been in this organization for 3 years, you're still relatively early in your journey of being a speech language pathologist. And I can already tell you're going to make a great clinician when you enter that field. You're going to be so confident, and you're really going to connect really well with your clients and the autism community and the parents. And you're going to be such a great support for them. But part of being a great leader is also being able to inspire others to create change themselves, not just creating the change yourself. So what are some strategies that you found to be effective in getting people on board with creating change in their communities, especially for autism acceptance?
I feel like one way to really connect with the community is being able to attack things in ways that they find relatable. And I feel like it's important for them to find that connection with it themselves, so that way they have their own views and own connection with the topic. For say, if it was autism, they would be able to find their own passion for it through that. If they find it something that they can relate to and they can like aspire and connect to, they will be able to be a strong advocate. So I feel like finding ways to connect it to themselves that maybe they don't even realize will be a great way to get them to create a fire and a burning passion for it. So I feel like that's definitely a way to attack the community that you can get people engaged with.
Right, exactly. That's great advice. And I'm wondering how, as you've been advocating for the autism community for quite some time now, what are some of the stereotypes that you've seen surface that you find problematic or that you hope to change through your advocacy?
Yes, so in the last podcast episode, I mentioned how one of the big stereotypes I find is that people compare children with autism to other children that might be at the same age with the same diagnosis. But I think it's important that we don't look at the autism spectrum as just another kid with autism, but as that broad spectrum that it is, that celebrates that each person has this different path and different goal, and each way they attack it is going to be totally different. So I feel like embracing that part that everyone is different is crucial, and that we should stop stereotyping and categorizing the autism spectrum as just one diagnosis, one kid, this is what it is or this is what it isn't. It's a totally broad spectrum of people of all different levels and variety of circumstances and backgrounds. So it's just important that we don't see it as that one stereotype.
So for anyone who wants to learn more about what autism looks like, and maybe doesn't know anyone close to them who has autism, what are some of your go-to resources that help you keep with the latest news and research about autism so that they can learn more on how to support the community?
Yeah, so usually I'll refer them to the Autism Speaks organization, or a more smaller and more local, close to home place that I support is Sun, Moon, and Stars in Watertown, Connecticut. And they're under Autism Speaks essentially with the same goals and working towards raising money for them, but it's a more local place. So it's somewhere that maybe people in my community would feel more compassionate towards because it's helping people in their area. So I'll refer them to those places that are very, very good on educating other people about autism. But there's also this book I read, and I don't know the exact title of it, but it was like one or a few things that every parent with a child with autism wishes you knew. And I feel like that book really like opens your eyes to like what it's like from a different perspective. And I feel like I can't educate at that way either because I don't have a child with autism. I don't have autism myself. So it gives you a different perspective that can really teach you a lot.
Exactly. We talked a lot about that in our last episode about how, although we don't have a diagnosis ourselves, we still have a place to mitigate the conversation, to be that person in the middle, to bridge the gap between one community and another, to help educate. And those resources are so important. And also social media, I mean, it's right at our fingertips, right? So it's so good to know that those are out there and they're available for anybody who's searching to learn more about autism spectrum disorders. So speaking of social media, you're on social media and you're also a college student. You're balancing many different responsibilities, keeping up with social media as a title holder, staying involved in your community, keeping up with your studies. And what are some tips that you could share for our viewers to help them manage their schedules the way that you juggle all of your responsibilities?
I'm a total believer in a planner. I put reminders on my phone, I click them off, I don't go back to them. It's definitely something that just does not work for me. Maybe it works for other people, but I feel like having a concrete planner is the best way to do it. You can write everything out. You'll remember it because you wrote it down, but also it's something that you could always keep on your desk. I keep mine right in front of me, so every morning when I get up, I see it. And it's definitely helped me stay on track because I get reminded of all the things I need to do. I try to make a checklist because sometimes just checking things off makes you feel really accomplished and you just want to keep doing everything on your task list because you just want to check them off. So I feel like having a planner is a great way to stay on task and it really keeps you organized.
Yeah, I'm the same exactly. And I think that is like the speech path in us. Speech paths have a tendency to be a planner and to just love making lists and cross things off. So that just goes to show that you're already prepared for the field ahead of you. Well, thank you so much for visiting with us again, Monica. It was such a pleasure having you on. And please make sure to follow Monica on Instagram at Miss Greater Watertown, and you can contact her via email at listenup.connecticut@gmail.com if you have a request for her, or if you would just like to support her on her journey to Miss Connecticut. And if you missed her original visit with us, you can go back to find her segment on episode 44. Thanks everyone, and we'll see you next Sunday.
Thank you for listening to Spectrum Sundays. We are your hosts, Miss Central Pennsylvania, Megan Sinisi,
and Miss Thousand Islands, Francesca D'Alessandro. Please make sure to subscribe to our series and follow us on social media to stay connected to autism professionals and self-advocates.
And just remember, true impact is accomplished through active listening and exploring the world through a variety of perspectives.
Join us next week on Spectrum Sundays to help cultivate a community of inclusion, appreciation, and acceptance around autism.